Hello, Ombute Devi here, and I'm so excited to see you, love. Confession, it's my delight to connect on my channel with allies of the heart and just share my experience with heart-based practices, descending practices, and just life in the heart awakening process. It's a path for sure. And I love also cultivating the group field for the Global Coherence and initiatives and be able to support, the collective while I'm walking home, And today I want to share some reflections and also, of course, practice. It is a weekend where we acknowledge the mother and the great mother is something that I am really sitting in right now, the relation with that and what that is and how it moves, that relationship, how it moves in my life and within me. And of course, all the mothers that I have had the beautiful honor and experience with throughout my life. There's been so many amazing mothers. And I subscribe to a practice and a knowing of my Supreme Ma. As she moves in me, she with 1,000 names, infinite expressions, right? So what I wanted to share with you, because it was in the field, it was about victimhood. So victimhood, there's so many, infinite layers on victimhood. So the context here that I want to share is within the context of ancestral victimhood. And I had been working, has been the process throughout my adult life, being aware of the energy of victimhood, victimhood of your own limited beliefs, victimhood of old ways of being as a survival, from survival, that after you are out of survival, that we are not keeping those patterns going. So we become victimized by these unconscious movements. And so all this stuff, we have, there's so much out there and how people work with this energy. And for me, it's sort of like a deity, right? Because she is a strong energy in my lineage and has been in my life as well. And like, what is the goal? What the goal is to understand and connect and liberate the energy, right? So that I can reclaim that energy for myself in my life, to use for my vitality, to use for renewal and, creation. And so my sharing in regards to the context, being in the context of ancestral victimhood. So I'm going to share because I was working with my great grandmother on my paternal side, my father's side, who came to me because I was really sitting in aspects of the victimhood that I knew was not mine here in this life, but was an extension and a continuation. There was this momentum, right? This imprint from my ancestral lineage. And so she came to me as, and I hadn't really connected with her before in active practice. And so she came to me, and this is she, working with her in the unseen. And she came to me and really helped me open up perspectives around the victimhood. So the victimhood, when I was sitting in it, and was just feeling into it, and there were questions within that came at, like the victimhood energy really, like I was asking what it needs. And first it just showed that it needs perpetrators. To be a victim, it needs perpetrators. And so then I had seen that it had unconsciously, brought and attracted these really amazing perpetrators through relationships and circumstances. And I thought, wow, okay, of course you need perpetrators to stay alive. So I understood then that I had, like peeling an onion, like I had layered and kept on unpacking the energetic victimhood movement in my life, and come to realize that this part that was so tenacious, was not going to give up a fight because it was dying. Right? It was dying. It was being asked to be resolved. It was being asked to transcend and transform that energy, right? And transcend that the energy, right? Elevate the frequency around that. And so it wasn't going to look then like victimhood anymore, right? And so it was just trying to stay alive. So, so I had seen, in the last few years, how the perpetrator had been, deliciously, coming into my life in ways that I just could not understand first. And so then I was asking my great grandmother, and she said, this is, she really showed me where it originated for her, right? And why it was so active in my life here. And because the victimhood there, Dad had real victimhood. She had been victim to horrible things. She was living in a circumstance where there was slavery around, and horrible things were done to women and men too, and just the humanity's sort of orientation around people that were different, that they were not human, that they were less than human because they just looked different, right? And so there was so much around that. I could see that, and I feel the movements on some levels that brought me to my knees, and I was just witnessing that. I was just witnessing it and pouring love on it. And then I said, well, why? I asked the victimhood, the deity, I call her the deity, the victim deity. I said, why wouldn't you want to now? Why wouldn't you want to release that? Why do you still want to stay in victimhood? Why do you want to attract perpetrators so that you can stay as a victim? Why wouldn't you want to transcend. And she said, because of fear. There was fear. So this is the thing, right? So there was fear there. The fear was, she was fearful of them becoming the perpetrator. Because she only knew victimhood, perpetrator. She's like, well, if I am not the victim, then I would be the perpetrator. So then I saw the sort of the sacrificial movement that she was doing, because she was sacrificing that power that she was sitting in, that was suppressed and arrested and had gone subterranean, right? It inverted love, right? The inverted love. And I saw that because of the fear of becoming the other side of the coin, right? So I was sitting with that, and then my great grandmother was asking, like showing me a feeling in my being that was just open and soft and curious, and wondering what in my psyche that I know now that is connected to the modern day sort of intelligence around these things. What can I open up as an understanding, feeling these movements? And what came was that there was a third thing emerging, that to expand, there is not just one thing, but in this duality, in this 3D duality, it's like one or the other, that there is actually a third option. There's a third expression, there's a third movement, right? There's a third choice here. And that's love, right? That's love and being in the present, like with everything that this energy is, to be in the present with it and be in love. And that by nature, that starts to resolve, right? That starts to resolve. And that the energy then starts to transform into higher frequency, because you're running the love. And so what that looks like then is like the victimhood has this underlying fear, right, of becoming the perpetrator and of that power. It has the underlying fear of the power that it has, right? But it's in service of the victimhood because it's the one that they know. It's the one known. It's the one safe movement that it knows. And so it needs to keep having perpetrators to keep itself safe. And it's not going to work anymore, right? And because I had witnessed my great-grandmother's victimhood, and she was a strong woman coming from the Orisha lineage, her daughter, my great aunt, was an Orisha high priestess, and so it's like this, like tons of, feminine divine power, high, deep wisdom and high intellect in that wisdom. And so it had to be sort of squashed. It had to be put away. And so that power was, so the fear of coming into that power and only knowing victimhood and perpetrator and thinking, I don't want to be a perpetrator, so I'm going to self-sacrifice. So here we go, right? So the victimhood, the ancestral victimhood, then I saw and acknowledged. Witnessing. When you are witnessing from a place of love and compassion, that is the healing. That is the healing, right? So as I witnessed that, I started to feel this huge breath in the behind my heart. Just this opening that was like there for me to like, whoa, come into and breathe. And there were other beautiful things that came, because I was saying like, oh my goodness, what if I'm making this up? Because I'm a born skeptic. So I was like, great grandmother, am I just going completely freaking mad? Am I making this up? Is like, and she says, if you're asking, then you know, and you don't have the answer, that you know that you have to go deeper, because every question has an answer that wants to be acknowledged. And she said, if you are asking questions that are not coming up, the answers are not coming up from within, then you have to go deeper. Then you're not in alignment. Right? So ask another question, because once you start asking a question, you start feeling that has an answer already in you, right? You start feeling the current, right? You start feeling the current. There's something there, right? And then you might hear something or see something that confirms, and then you know. Then you're like, oh, yeah, right? So the point was like, when I was asking, what if I'm making all of this up? And then she said, well, what is it that you think is not made up by your imagination in this world? Everything and anything that you see around you was created from a thought, from imagination. Your world is made up from imagination. So, what's the difference? You are making, if you're making this up and you are questioning if you're making this up, understand that you need to go deeper and come through the veil of illusion. She was very specific. And understand the power that you are sitting in, that you are making up your world as you go, but you want to be closer and closer to your alignment. You want to be closer and closer to your truth when you are doing this, so that you are creating a world that is aligned with you, with your highest desire, with your heart's highest desire. And this is so when we kind of came onto that path of conversation, he kind of went on and on, but I started to feel the big breath behind my heart. And then we came back to the victimhood, and I said, okay, well, what do I do? What do I do? Like, what's the fix here? Because once you see something, you have to start landing it. You have to start integrating it into your life. Otherwise, it's, you're right. The action have to come after, right? So one of the things is then, you cannot have unconditional love on board if you have judgment on board, right? So she was saying, feel that place in the heart, behind the heart. And the reason why it's probably behind the heart, because it comes from this protection of love. Because behind the chakra, like behind the back chakra and the behind us, is the energy of that protection blocking from love. And so that started to open up. So she was encouraging me to breathe into the behind the heart and back to the heart. Behind it, like open up the breath there. Okay? And then, so you cannot have judgment on board and unconditional love at the same time. So anytime, she said, anytime you are judging someone or you are thinking negative thoughts about someone, it's only because that resonance is yours, right? you have it too, so that you are actually saying that to you. So that's the deity of that's victimhood, right? That's the victimhood speaking, because the victimhood does not have access to unconditional love, right? Because it's inverted love. So whenever you catch yourself judging someone or something, or thinking negative thoughts about someone, you remember that this is you. You have it in you. And just acknowledge and say, oh, that's Miss Victim. That's the victimhood energy speaking. And then come into your heart, behind the heart, and open up and just breathe and just say, oh, all right, that's the energy there. And just open up the breath behind the heart and see if you can pour love on it, right? See if you can breathe in and out love. Or just ease. Or anytime, even if you just noticed, right? So you have to cultivate awareness. You have to cultivate awareness so that you catch yourself. So that the language, the self-talk, even when you're talking to yourself, right? If you're judging, if you're just, oh my gosh, here she is, right? Let's meet her, let's hold her, right? So this is how we mother. This is how we pour love, right, on ourselves. And ancestral victimhood can be really, really tough to transcend, because you have to cultivate awareness, and you have to cultivate connection with your ancestors to help you see where the original cause was, where it got really, really arrested and stuck, and where that snowball started, right? Because it just is asking you to witness in the now, in the presence, and then you are able, right, to unwind that, right? So that you are able to heal those ancestral energies by connecting, right? Connecting and seeing it. Because anything that has not been seen or witnessed, right? By nature, when we bring our awareness to something, we bring our life to it. Energy goes. And that energy is what actually opens up the momentum for it to start to digest, process, resolve itself, complete its everything. Every momentum, every movement needs its full cycle to complete itself. So as it's completing itself in you, because it's, we're laying it down. Anytime again, right? So we acknowledge it, right? By what we're saying, what we're doing, we catch ourselves, we see ourselves, and we don't shame it or blame it or anything. We just go, there you are, sweetie. Whew. All right, I have a place for you behind my heart. Open up in the back heart chakra, lots of space there. And let's just breathe there, and just, that's all. You could just take 3 breaths and just love you so much. Welcome to the transcendent breath here. I'm going to open up the breath here for you so that you can complete yourself, right? And become love and let go, right? Let go. You don't need to be a victim. You don't need to become a perpetrator or be afraid of becoming a perpetrator. You can just be the power of love that you are, right? And so this is one way that my ancestor helped me integrate this process and integrate what I had seen. Because it was quite, it was quite horrific. It hurt my heart deeply, what I saw. But it didn't happen to me, right? But the compassionate heart, right? I didn't take on the pain. I didn't take on the suffering, but I saw it from the compassionate heart. And I like that. So I could feel it. I could feel it, but not as mine, but as my ancestors' pain and suffering. And so I confirmed her by the witnessing. And so this is the way we can work with these energies. And so I wanted to share that. And so the practice then, let's do a practice where we come into our hearts. And we open up our breath in the area of the heart. And wherever we sense an opening, whether it's in the front or in the bottom or behind or on top or the sides of the heart, if we're thinking just like it's like all around us, we're just radiating this breath. However it comes to you most naturally, and we just roll that breath in and out from the area of the heart. Right? And when we do that, we can do that as a practice sitting down with our eyes closed, right? Taking our sweet, sweet time to just ride our breath into the heart. Or we can do it with our eyes open, where if we're in the car or if we're on the run, so to speak, we can still do that. We have the ability to do that. We just don't close our eyes if we're driving, right? But so whenever we are wanting to amplify the presence, elevate, right, the love frequency, because something is moving in us that really needs to move through the consciousness of love in our body to be able to be digested and to be able to complete itself little by little, right? As we are sort of peeling the layers. But we have to be aware, we have to be present to it, right? So here, as we sit and open up the breath and roll the breath, and that's just acknowledging what's moving in us and opening up the breath. Just doing that, that shifts us in to coherence, and our biology is already doing what it needs to do, right? Is amplified, right? We are sort of amplifying, potentiating the natural ability, our inherent natural ability to heal, to transform, to store, to restore, to recycle, to release, right? To break down, to distill, right? So we're distilling out the energies from these past movements, because we want the energy, but we don't want the imprint, the memory imprints, right? We don't want the memory imprints in it, right? And as we keep moving that, those memory imprints starts to dissolve, and we are just taking the energy, right? And using the energy for our own vitality, right? So because, it's like we are like a recycling system, right? But the system is love, right? The fuel for the recycling system is love. So then that can be recycled. And so as we are breathing in and out from the area of our hearts, rolling it in and out. And for me, I had a big opening in the back of the heart. So I'm just opening up the breath in the back of the heart, just ever so gentle. Sometimes if I start pushing, I get a little tense and tight right there. It feels tight after a while. So I have to soften. So you just keep softening to everything and anything that's moving. And just simply rest your awareness there and open up the breath. And if you have more access and more spaciousness, then activate the love frequency, activate a trait, a feeling of care, compassion, appreciation, right? Tenderness, right? And that's how we mother these ancestral movements into alignment and into liberation, right? And so Great Mother is doing this all the time with us, the beings that are on her planet. She does this all the time, non-stop. She is renewing the frequencies. She is recycling those heavier thought patterns, those older memories. She's uploading, upgrading the frequencies. And she, especially now, it's happening so fast because the frequencies are changing so much. So now we can feel a lot of perturbance because she's like, oh, I got things to do. I just like, things are happening quicker and quicker now. But that doesn't mean that you start thinking, you start running and racing with your mind. Actually, you do the opposite, right? Because you just know that nature is doing what it needs to do. And the more you soften and relax, you get out of the way and the nature can do what it needs to do. And you are nature. Remember, you're never, ever, right, apart from nature. So this is a way, right, we can help ourselves. And that's it. So that's a very, very simple and practice. I know it is really profound. It could be really a lot of movements there. But I wanted to share in case there's someone that, maybe you're working with some ancestral victimhood energy, and there's so many different ways in how we liberate ourselves and how we come in back home to heart. And so this is one way, right? This is one way. And remember, when you come into the heart and listen, you just, for a few minutes or so, and then slowly come out of it. And I just do at the end a breath of gratitude. Breath in, thank you so much. And then the exhalation, I just soften to receive, to just start receiving the benefits. Exhale, right? I'm receiving it. Because you are distilling out the nuggets, the magic that you are, that your ancestors were, the magic in the ancestral thread. That's what you are, right? So you're receiving the goodies, right? So thank you. And as we expand and your soul expands and you start coming into a understanding that is aligned with your highest best, and you start discovering, all the amazing parts of you, right? All the good parts of you, all the best parts of you. And then the more you do that, the more you discover all the best parts of others as well. So this is how we can walk in this season of Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We sending love and compassion to all the mothers all over our planet, all the mothers that are suffering, are in pain due to lack of the basics, clean water, food, shelter, while they are caring for their babies, for their children. We are sending love and compassion, and we pray for protection from the violence that so many of the mothers are sitting in. And we know it's happening, and we also know that when we are sitting in gratitude and pouring love on us and into the field, we are opening up the big breath of compassion, of love, of connectivity, so that everyone can benefit. Everyone can benefit. So the air is less thick, right? The field is less thick. So it helps to take edges off, all those prickly, nasty edges that are out there, that whatever you're going through, that you may go through it with a little bit more ease, and know that your soul has a particular path for each and every one of us. And it is not for us to judge anybody else's path, but to be compassionate and supportive and have the courage and the heart to witness everyone's human plight that comes in front of you across your path, that you can be present to them or what's going on, that we don't look away, that we are staying present, but that we stay in our own seat of love, right? Of love. So much joy, high intelligence. I hope you have a joyous weekend, a joyous Mother's Day. So much love here to the Supreme Mother. May beauty and love and joy be restored on all levels, dimensions, and directions. And so it is. See you next time on Ombute Devi.